In this video, we're going to look at a particular Faron Young album and why it is in fact a total hidden gem for classic country music fans. It's a story that brings us into the present moment of the music industry and how we've evolved into this non-physical media stage of listening to music. So the first thing you need to know about Faron Young is that there were three phases in his career. You have the 50s Faron, the honky tonk, the squeaky heartthrob, lo-fi, let's call it the mono years. And then in the 60s, we have a more mature, a more refined Faron, but one that is very much still in the honky tonks. It's the more pedal steel driven stereo version. And this phase all happened at Mercury Records with Jerry Kennedy and or Shelby Singleton producing. And then phase three is the latter years, the 80s and 90s recordings, where Faron is jumping around from label to label, trying to keep himself relevant, trying to keep his career alive. And as you probably know, Faron did not leave the world of country music, nor the world itself, quietly. So anyway, I'm choosing this hidden gem here. I'm choosing it as an album mostly because it highlights the Mercury years. Why it stands out for Faron is because he was one of the many artists who were managed in a way that had him putting out a record like every 8 to 10 months, just nonstop. And as a result, most of the records only ever had one really great song on them, maybe two. So it's hard to find one album of Faron that really stands out, especially in those years. So I think I've built it up enough. So here it is. This is the very unlikely, the very unassuming 20th Century Masters Millennium Collection. Okay, this is the best of Faron Young on compact disc. It's the first time I've ever featured a compact disc, I think, on this channel. So like I say, it's a Millennium Collection, 20th Century Masters, or as I like to call it, the Walmart Special. Okay, this series of CDs was a Canadian release on Universal. And these things were piled into every Walmart far and wide across Canada. From 2001 to like 2010, I mean, they were just giving these things away for next to nothing in the end. And there were over 600 releases on this series of different artists. I mean, there were a lot of CDs that looked like this with insert the singer that you're thinking of. Actually, some of this stuff was distributed in the U.S. as well. Like a lot of the country artists, like this one was distributed by Mercury. So if you're in the U.S., you might have seen these around too. But if you're Canadian, you definitely remember these CDs. I just got this copy here this week, actually, for $5 US. I got it on a site called Shopee here in Thailand. It's kind of like a hybrid Amazon, eBay kind of shopping site. Yeah, $5, shipping included. So the Canadian Walmart Special here is actually, this is actually a really nice package, this whole CD. You've got like this beautiful booklet with his biography written by an actual music critic or a biographer of some kind. And it's got this great spread of photos. It even feels nice, like the paper has a nice texture to it. There's really nothing cheap about this album as I've revisited it. So okay, let's jump into the music. All right, we come out of the gates with a bang here. This is Keeping Up with the Joneses, track 1 with Margie Singleton. This was a Justin Tubb song, the son of Ernest Tubb, who did write some great country songs. This is just a really great recording, like everything on this CD. This CD was mastered in a way that this all sounds like it could have been recorded in the same session. That's another reason why this album really stands out. Track 3 is Unmitigated Gall, which is a song like all of these that he recorded at different times. So this particular version, the 1966 version, Jerry Kennedy producing and Lloyd Green on the steel. All these tracks are great. Like they're all killer songs. They're all real bangers too. Like there's really nothing slow here. This is all mid-tempo to like upbeat stuff. Really, really fun. Some of the other highlights here are Your Time's Comin', Chris Christopherson song. And it's a great story. It's a great visual. Of course, Wind Me Up, This is my a favorite recording of that one as well. Wind Me Up was like kind of a defining song for Faron Young. Song. I think that Dean Martin even recorded that. Now, this track 7, If I Ever Fall in Love with a Honky Tonk Girl, this is a Tom T. Hall song, and it's just killer stuff. The energy is just really great. Like, everybody's just alive in the studio. Like, it just feels, the whole thing feels so fresh, even 50 years ago now. And this song has a young Doug Jernigan on the steel. So steel players are going to be interested to hear that fast E9th, beautiful Nashville style of Doug Jernigan. Next up, we got Faron's earlier songs that he's re-recorded here. Big hit for him, Goin' Steady. And everybody knows this song, right? It's a very, very nice re-recording with Lloyd Green. Got Step Aside. Leavin' and Saying Goodbye is actually a Jeannie Seely song. She wrote it. And then we've got 4 in the Morning, which 4 in the Morning was Faron's his last big hit. And it's one of the all-time great classic country songs, really. It's got everything in it. It's written by Jerry Chestnut, and it's a mid-tempo, kind of a 3/4 waltz. But it never quite feels like a ballad. It's just a little bit faster than that. It's very nuanced, dark song. It's a great arrangement, and it's got killer playing on it. Lloyd Green again on the steel, so you gotta like that if you're a steel guitar fan. We got a lot of Lloyd Green here. It's possible Buddy Emmons was playing on one of these tracks. It's hard to find all of the session logs for this stuff. A lot of the information is just kind of gone, but somebody knows. If you know, you can certainly type it away in the comments and smarten me up. Faron's voice here is just great too. Like, his voice aged really well into his later career. Even in the 80s and 90s, I thought his voice still sounded great. So the last song here is This Little Girl of Mine. And this song is probably the only song that feels like a little out of pace, maybe, with the rest of the record. It's a pretty funny song, as you know. I mean, unintentionally funny, kind of unintended funny, and the story that goes with it. This song is like a conversation between a father and his daughter, a very young girl in the song. And so Faron's on stage singing this song, and he used to bring a member of the audience up, like he'd find a young girl in the audience and bring her up to sing the lines, which is also a little bit creepy looking back on it. But anyway, it's all amazing. This one night, I think it was in Ohio. It was in the early 70s when this happened. And this little girl came up and she started outshining Faron on stage, stealing the spotlight and kind of like smart-mouthing him a bit, as the story goes. Anyway, he ends up spanking her in front of the whole audience. And he was arrested for that, too, and charged with assault. He had to pay a $24 fine to get out of jail that night for that. So just great stuff from Faron Young. I mean, there was no one like him. He was just an absolute character, a total ham, and a total legend in every way. And so that really rounds out this greatest hits little CD that I got here. Been listening to it in my truck. And again, as I call it, this is phase 2, the Mercury years of Faron Young. And I hope you enjoy this album. Sadly, it's not available in this form for online streaming. And because Faron's catalog was so big and he re-recorded all of these songs so many times, that to track down these arrangements I'm speaking of here, it's going to take you a while. So what I've done, manually gone and found all the songs, all of these versions of them, and put them into a playlist with this cover art on it. There's a link to it in the description. For what it's worth, you can enjoy this 20th Century Masters collection. So the CD is great, much better, because it's all been mastered in a way that has continuity to it. Physical media, that's something that we're gonna want to hang on to dearly. The CDs, DVDs, and the real books in the world, these are our lifeline to the past. As I was listening to this, I was thinking about how an album like this, packaged like this, is kind of like a precursor to the curated playlist the playlists that we have today on all the various streaming sites. Like we have Spotify and Apple putting out their playlists. These are like the greatest hits, the best of, the highlights of such and such artist. And that's really how we interact with greatest hits of artists now. It's really replaced the compact disc and the cassette before that, and the record originally, of course. But there's something about consuming music online that is a very thin kind of an experience. It's momentary. It doesn't require any trip to the mall. It doesn't require any trip to hunt down the record or wait in line to get your first copy of it. It's just, the music's just waiting for us. It's just there in our hand, just waiting for us when we log on. And so we have a much less meaningful relationship with music these days. I mean, listening to music is kind of like you're interacting with this online database that we access on and off throughout the day and the week. Whereas in the past, we had our own personal collection with this music. If I want to track down all of these songs individually, I can go back to these Mercury records here, and you can find these songs individually. Oh, this is a Japanese copy, this one, so I won't be reading up on that. But this is a copy, for example, that has 3 or 4 of the songs that are on this CD. It's a more like affectionate kind of relationship you have with music when you have it right there in your hands, like a real copy of it. That is mostly an experience that is completely forgotten in today's world. So you can be thankful. We're here together right now, part of a generation that still has the ability to access physical media. So don't forget about that when you're listening to physical media of any format. You're really taking part in an activity that is a nostalgic kind of a thing. All right, it's pretty cool. Enjoy listening to music and supporting the artist directly in 2025. Obviously, a lot more to say about Faron Young and many more hits, many more songs that are not included on this compilation here. So someday in the near future, we'll get into all that. Until then, take care, keep it country, and keep on coming back for more talk about honky tonk music and steel guitars. And we'll see you next time.